And let's turn now to Terry. Terry, thank you for calling, also from Bluntsville. How can we help you this evening?
Hi. I had a question about my daughter. A couple of years ago, she got T-boned by a woman who ran a red light, and it really messed her leg up real bad. She had a rod from her knee to her foot. They said that the bone was just shattered, that it may never grow back over the rod, to where she can use it properly. And her pelvis was just broken in several places, and really she had to quit working and everything. Well, come to find out, the woman didn't have insurance, and at the time, my daughter didn't have the insurance that would cover the uninsured motorists, as I just heard y'all talking about. And I was wondering if there was anything that we might could do, or some advice.
In that situation, it's I'm so sorry to hear about your daughter first. It sounds like her injuries were severe, and I'm glad you're looking into options to help her. The first place you look for is whether the person that hit her had insurance, but if they don't have any, like you said, then call your carrier, see if there's any type of coverage whatsoever that might help her, and do it sooner rather than later, because once an injury happens, in some circumstances you have 2 years, some you have 6 years to make a claim for that. But as a lawyer, Mr. Ferris and I see this all the time, and it breaks my heart when serious injuries happen, but there may not be any insurance coverage to cover those damages. If there have been any criminal investigation or involvement with the police from that accident, you may be able to submit an application with the state of Alabama for the Crime Victims Compensation Fund. That might be a chance of getting some coverage for those bills, but it's a more common situation than I'd like to admit, but it's really hard to find help.
Just let's talk about the handful of places for Terry to look also. She mentioned there was no UM coverage on the car, but UM coverage will extend to people living in the household of someone with UM coverage, if they're a resident relative. So if I have like one of my children living in my household, they will have the benefit of their UM coverage on their car, but also mine, because they're living in my house and they're a relative of mine. The other thing that needs to be looked at for your daughter, I think, is what was the person doing on the road who hit her? Were they intoxicated? Because that could bring a bar into play. Were they working for somebody at the time of the accident? Because if they don't have coverage personally, if they're on the job for somebody, then that employer could be held liable. So there's several rocks that need to be overturned for your daughter to make sure that we've exhausted every avenue to help her.
And I know that in that piece that Ken talked a little bit about the fact, he said that sometimes your insurance company may try to talk you out of.
Yes.
Talk a little about why that is, and it sounds like you then have to be proactive in getting it.
You really do. People will commonly come into their insurance agent, and the insurance company's not doing this maliciously, but when people come in and say, I want the cheapest insurance I can get, just give me the cheapest coverage that I can have. Well, one of the things that is an option that you can eliminate from a policy is your UM coverage. You have to, as the purchaser of insurance, agree to eliminate it though. And I fear that often people don't understand the coverage enough, so they get rid of it. But UM coverage is not the place to, if you're trying to save money on your insurance, UM coverage is not the place to do that.
This is just a great topic to cover and to let folks know, as you said, going into the new year, just make that a resolution.
Absolutely.
That's what, the one thing I'm going to get this year.
And Terry and her daughter are just a case in point on why that coverage is so important.